So this is the talk on prevention and treatment of osteoporosis. It's really too bad that I'm not electronically brilliant, but I am going to present to you what I am good at, and that is knowledge and experience with treating osteoporosis. We will have a presentation today with our model Madge. So next, please. I'll just let you read that. Next, please. What you'll see, audience, Marie and Clarissa, on the left, we have the very, very popular Calcium Cafe, where members bring in bone healthy food. Everything that we have is original and homemade. And then we share the recipes and we print them in the newsletter. And Madge is the third from the left. So this is what we're going to cover today. Some of the diagnosis of osteoporosis and osteopenia, risk factors, the stats, that won't take long, the medication won't take long. The holistic treatment is what I feature. This is what most people want, and this is why I feature this. And under the holistic treatment comes exercise, fall and fracture prevention, nutrition, and stress management. I'd like to present a little bit of the positive outcomes with osteofitness, which means people in my business who have reported positive bone scans with an increase in their T scores. I keep those reports in my office, and I want to show you some of those. And what I also like to do is give you just an overview of what the classes are like, because an exercise class for osteoporosis is very different from a regular exercise class. Next, please. Is up and coming. Osteoporosis is in the news a lot. Osteoporosis is considered a recent condition of the bone. It's been known for a long time, but in terms of having it researched and set out with the pharmaceuticals, it's rather a new condition. It's compromised bone density, which sets the bone up to fracture availability, low bone mass. Now, you'll hear the term constant remodeling or remodeling. That's it's a process that your body does beautifully with a lot of cells. Cells that are worn out and used disappear, and new cells come in. And I think we're most familiar with remodeling of our skin when they talk about exfoliating your skin, giving it a good brush, get the dead cells off your skin, let the new cells come in, and you'll have a glowing face. The same technique is necessary for the bones, except we can't get in there with a scrub brush. We do have cells, however, the class, the osteoclasts, that is their job. All they do is remove dead bone cells. And then we have osteoblasts coming in with new bone cells. Now, in youth, the osteoblasts work overtime. There's very few dead bone cells to remove in young people. Then the reverse happens at around age 30 when we supposedly reach our maximum bone density. And that would be there's more bone removal than bone building. So as we age, we're starting to lose bone. And even if you don't have osteoporosis, bone loss is a normal phenomenon of aging. Now the bones become weak and brittle, and we'll learn more about it later on. Osteopenia is a weakened bone structure and the low bone density, of course. But on the left, you'll see normal bone. Normal bone has holes in it, and that's because if we were solid bone, we wouldn't be able to stand up. But an osteoporotic bone has far too many holes in it, and a lot of these boundaries have disappeared and disintegrated. So you can see how easy it would be to fracture a frail structure like that. Next, please. This is the diagnostic tool. People go for a DEXA scan, and it measures the bone density in just a few areas, such as the spine, the lumbar spine, total hip, neck of the femur, and the wrist. And there happens to be a black, there, it's gone. A normal mineral bone density is within one standard deviation of the young adult that I described previously, that around age 30, when you reach maximum bone density, that has been used as the model by the World Health Organization. And this is a global standard. All over the world, the same numbers are used as standard. The low bone mass would be a T-score between minus 1.0 and 2.5. And the an osteoporosis is a T-score of minus 2.5 or higher. Now you can read your bone scan and just look for T-scores. There's a lot on it. We don't do the Z-scores, but if you sign up for my program, you will have a free consult where I can go over your bone scan with you. But preferably, I like to have a copy for my files so that we can use your first one as the baseline. Next, please. There's something new on the market, and if you're not familiar with osteoporosis, this would be too much information, but they're starting to look at another aspect of bone strength, and it's called scanning the trabecular bone. And there's this trabecular bone, it's the inside of the bone. Compact bone is on the outside, the trabecular bone is in the center, and there's a lot of research going on now to start to measure the bone strength. And it definitely needs more research because the results that are coming out are just standing there alone. They don't know how to interconnect them with some of the T-scores. So that's what's going to happen in the research. I keep my eyes open for that, and I bring it to you as I see. Next, please. Now, this is important. Have you had a fracture? So if you're premenopausal and you've had a fracture, they may even scan you for osteoporosis. Do you have low bone mineral density? Are you at risk for a fracture? Do you have a personal history of osteoporosis or broken bones? This is a killer. Do you lead a sedentary lifestyle? Some of us don't right now, but some of us did years ago. A lot of people had office jobs. A lot of people were students for a long time. Childhood history of inactivity, which means muscles weren't being used, which means there was no force put on the bone to force them to grow. Low calcium intake. Years ago, a lot of people did not drink milk. A lot of people years ago had a dietary intolerance. But I do have a lot of people who years ago, actually, they had a lot of Kool-Aid and Tang. Remember Tang? Yes. So that was the way with some families, small and thin. And I think smoking and drinking excessively is always on the list for bad health, not just osteoporosis. Sodium intake of more than 2,300 milligrams a day is bad for building bone. It prohibits bone growth. Chronic stress will prohibit bone growth. And then we have certain conditions that make it difficult for bones to grow. And then we have certain medications that inhibit bone growth or delay it or slow it down. Dr. Merle LaBeouf, who was a pioneer in osteoporosis at the Harvard Medical School, has said to me that increased cortisol is associated with lower bone density. Now I'll explain what she means by increased cortisol. Next, please. Okay, I have something in my throat, but I've got some water, thank you. I did say the conditions. Here they are. I'm going to let you read them. Next, please. It doesn't mean that it's impossible to build bone, but these conditions would need extra care. So we're going to read through these. Vitamin D deficiency is something that we can correct. Low serum calcium we can correct. Some of these other are medical conditions that would need doctor's care. Next, please. This is our last page on conditions. It's common to see Parkinson's disease in some of my senior members, but that, as I said, it does not make building bone impossible. It just makes it a little harder. Next, please. Now we have the medications that are associated with low bone density. The top of the list is any long-term steroids, thyroid conditions, diuretics, blood thinners. They're very common medications. So when people come to me and I do a personal consult with them, we certainly can go over how some of these things can be worked into their program. Next, please. And next, please. Now, I'd like to ask the audience, can you see Madge?
No, I do not see her. This is Clarissa.
Okay.
I see you, Beverly,
Oh, that's too bad.
and I see the PowerPoint presentation.
Okay. I think when we get to the exercise portion, I think Gabrielle will set it up so we can see Madge. You okay, Madge? Now, these are the stats that I don't like. 50% of people who fall and fracture will need assistance walking. That means a cane forever or a walker forever. 25% of people who fall and fracture will end the rest of their days in a nursing home. And 25% will die. It's not a good situation when you fall and fracture with osteoporosis. And falls are the leading cause of injury-related death for adults over 65, and the rate is increasing. So I think we're going to move on from that because we don't have to be part of those stats. Next, please. We have some men with osteoporosis. Uh, they don't seem to be tested as frequently as women, and not a lot of men choose to be scanned. But if the doctor notices that a senior male falls and fractures and has an accident, in other words, then he will be tested for osteoporosis. But in general, women after the age of menopause should be scanned, and men over the age of 70 should be scanned. Next, please. I think the medications for osteoporosis have been on the news for a long time. They keep changing. There's always new ones. And a little note on the meds is that people come to me, and the first thing they say is, I don't want to take the meds. What can you do? Or I've been on the meds and I had bad reactions and I don't want to take any more. Or I've been on 2 or 3 meds and it's been a horrible experience with the side effects. I get this a lot. I also have people on medication who don't have any side effects, but they want to do the building as well. So the combination works very well. And I would say the exercise alone has proven results, but it also gets you better prepared for aging. So we have on the left, the early treatment of osteoporosis was with estrogen replacement therapy. Then came Fosamax, Prolia, and Evenity. Evenity is rather new, but they do have the similar side effects. They all have the same side effects. And one of them is an unfortunate fracture of the femur, your thigh bone, and disintegration of the jawbone. So if you've had a history of these meds, and even if you've been off them for several years, many dentists will not do any major work on your jaw. Orteo and parathyroid hormones and Timlos will actually stimulate new bone growth, but there is quite a bit of side effect from these anabolics, and the way it's handled is you're only on these drugs for a short period of time. Then you are advised to go on a drug holiday. And a lot of people thought their osteoporosis was cured when they were told they're going on a drug holiday. And I said, no, that's not the case at all. They just want you to stop that drug for now. And usually you're put on another drug. But there, I've mentioned the side effects. GI disturbances, people don't like that. Let's go on. Next, please. Clarissa, do you have a science?
Hello?
Clarissa, do you have a science background?
No, I've taught psychology, but that's about it.
Oh, well, they're both good, right? But I want you to look at these little scientific diagrams, okay? I don't know if people need to
Yes.
see that, but um, actually, the stress on the bone, like positive stress, it was originally used by engineers when they were building bridges. Stress on a bridge, stress on a bone. The stress starts to bend the bone because bones are flexible. So when you have a muscle which is attached to the bone, working hard and getting contracted and relaxing and hypercontracted and using a weight, that force travels through the tendon into the bone, and the bone throws its hands up in total fear, thinking it's going to be fractured. So the bone, in self defense, shoots down calcium to build up the bone. So that force is an integral split-second moment where your body goes into um, a panic situation to avoid the fracture because your body is your friend. Your body is there for you. So this bending, just as a sidebar, if you wanted to maybe consider collagen, collagen does help with the flexibility of bones. And the resorption is being shown in this diagram. The osteoclast is clearing away dead cells, and there the osteoblasts in the bottom circle, they are building new bone cells. But that's how exercise works to build bone. And this is a very, very tricky situation because if you put too much force on the bone, it will fracture. Like if I asked Madge to go and pick up a tire outside and throw it, she could fracture. Um, and yes, and certain falls will break a bone, but it's precisely knowing how much force challenges the bone to build new bone cells. And thank heavens Tufts did all this, led by Miriam Nelson back in the 80s with her her breaking news book, Strong Women Stay Young. And Tufts came out with the fact that you can build bone, but it has to be an exercise that applies just the amount of force on the bone. And because we don't feel bones, we only feel muscles. You know what an achy muscle is like. Yeah, muscles talk to us. Muscles have a voice, bones don't. So we feel the muscle as it's working, but it has to be working to the point where it's exhausted. And they call that extreme fatigue in the science of bone building. So a good instructor is going to work the body with the weights. It can be a hand weight or a leg cuff to the point where the person feels this muscle is exhausted. I can't do any more. And then the instructor says, do two more. So we have a special count in my classes, and we have models, Madge is one of them, who come back week after week. Even though they work very hard and they get exhausted, they do recover because it's a normal phenomenon for muscles. So that's how we build bone through exercise. All right. Next, please. This is one of the tools we use. We use hand weights, and this is called strength training. Strength training increases the muscular force and endurance, and it uses a prop. Weight training is using your body weight, and an example of that would be doing squats, or just if you go to sit in a chair and don't really let go onto it, but you stand right back up again. That is using your body weight to strengthen your lower body. So the resistance is what forces the muscle to work hard. The thing with strengthening, it has to be progressive. Meaning, if you start off the class, I wouldn't even start off with 5 pounds. We chose these because they're pretty. I would probably start off someone at 2 pounds, and then we just see how long they can go before they get tired. And if they start to get tired, we know that that's the right weight for them. And then my job as an instructor is to go along with what people are using for weights and then evaluate them, and then we increase the weight. That is what the progression is. The progression means adding more resistance because that's what's going to build the bone. Now, in some classes, they use TheraBands. You know, you tie them around your ankle, or you hold end in one hand and the other end in the other hand. You stretch away. That's okay if you're going on a trip. You could use the TheraBands because you can't really pack weights and travel. But it's not the best way to build bone because it does not fit into the normal activities of daily life. And the hand weights, if you're doing a bicep curl, you know, you're lifting things out of your trunk. It's that simple. So a lot of our exercises are functional and they can be added to your daily life. And that's what we like, so that things that you do about your life aren't going to cause a fracture or a fall. Next, please. Okay. So this is somebody without his skin. Um, there's an exhibit actually where you can see people in motion without their skin and see the muscles at work. But extreme fatigue is an important um, phrase that comes up in my classes a lot because extreme fatigue means you're on the verge of building bone. Then you do one more. And I think you can read this. It's important to reach extreme fatigue. It's extreme fatigue that stimulates the bone formation. I explained that. And extreme fatigue is reached when the muscle feels tired and cannot do one more repetition. However, it is not worked to the point of exhaustion or tearing. But that's where my training comes in because I know how to coach people through this strengthening process. And slowly increasing your resistance reduces the risk of injury. The stronger you are, the better you are. And if you do have an injury, you will recover from it rather quickly. And Tufts has done a good job at timing the time that it takes to become extremely fatigued, and they worked it out to be about 20 repetitions, and that means we can do all the muscle groups that approach osteoporotic sites within an hour. So it's a well-timed, it's a scientifically designed program. And if we didn't use the right amount of weight and we were working with too light of a weight, we could have classes that were 3 and 4 hours. Huh, Madge.
Mhm.
Uh-huh. And if we were starting off with gigantic weights, the minute you lifted them, you could tear something. So it's finding the right amount of weight that works the muscles in the manner that we've been talking about. Next, please. So this is the time for exercises. Madge, I'd like you to do a little warm up. Show the class how we do a warm up. We'll start with the shoulder circles. So we always start off the warm up working the inside of the joints. I don't just do a muscle warm up. I do joint warm ups so that we have no injuries. We want to exercise safely. We want to live safely. Remember that. So there's the shoulder circle. And now you could do a few swimming exercises, the breaststroke maybe. We're just going to do samples of everything. Thank you, Madge. And there's one exercise where we go overhead. So you could do an overhead up to the ceiling with the press, and we test. We do one shoulder and press it up, and then do the other shoulder and see if that works. Some people have a problem with overhead. So take a breath, Madge, and now could you stand sideways beside your chair for a little finger support, and we're going to open up the inside of the hip joint now. This will be important because when we start to add weights for strengthening total hip, lumbar spine, we have to have mobility. Mobility is the first uh, s- um, action that we have to take before we start strengthening. Would you show us what we call garden gate, Madge? We're just going to lift it up and out to the side and maybe one circle at the top and then circle the other way with the knee and bring it back and down. So why don't you do 4 of those? Please join Madge. I think you'll be able to do these, Norma and Clarissa and Marie. Now, as Madge is standing on her right leg, she is strengthening her right hip. As Madge is standing on her right leg, she's developing balance. So she's doing all that while she's opening up the left hip joint on the inside, and she's getting some circulation going. Now let's do the other leg, Madge. So she's going to turn her chair around. And it's called Garden Gate. We have actually different kinds of names than what you're used to, but this is a basic exercise, and I have about 8 variations on this. So, the classes are quite different. I'll add a little change here and there, and it makes it very interesting for people. Plus, the challenge of learning something with your body, according to Dr. Oliver Sacks, is that it's very good for your brain and memory health, right, Madge? Right. So you did the garden gates. All right, let's do another warm up that we do. That would be lifting up the heels. So lifting up the heels is not a strengthening for postmenopausal women. It is for premenopausal women. But we do heel lifts every single class, up and down. You don't have to do the fancy part. Let's just do a regular shift up and down. This actually is called mini jumping. And in some literature, you're going to see, oh, jump, 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 or do play hopscotch, or jump on the over a skipping rope. We don't jump in Iker's osteofitness, okay? But this is called gentle jumping, and it provides the same motivation. What it does is it stimulates bone growth, and you feel tingling up your legs from this. What it does is it strengthens our stability, which means we have a less risk of fracturing. Anything that we do for balance and strengthening reduces your risk of fracture, and that's also on your bone scan. But know this when you come into my class, you're reducing your bones, your risk of fracture. So that's a good exercise, but it takes about 50 to get where we want. So I have ways of mixing it up with little groups of 4 and 8. Um, this also is very important because your calves return the blood to your heart, and that's where they get oxygen. Your blood gets oxygenated in your lungs. And if you don't have good calf muscles, the calf muscles are the ones that squeeze the veins, then you'll see varicose veins, and you'll see edema collecting in the lower leg. So that is the warm up for the shoulders and the hip. Now, I'd like you to show us something with the hand weights, Madge. Madge is going to use heavy weights because that's where she's at, but she didn't always start there. All right, so these are called dumbbells. And one of the ways that we will use a dumbbell is for upper body strengthening. So we'll start with bicep curl. That's a good spot right there, Madge, where they can see your arm. So we'll do a bicep curl. And of course, we're doing like 12 to 20 in a class. Would you show us the tricep extension, please, going back? Now maybe go sideways for this, please. There's a side view of the triceps, the muscles above the elbow, between the elbow and the shoulder. And as Madge straightens her elbows, she holds it for a split second, and that is adding force to those triceps. Nice, Madge. Come on back, please. Now, we have a lot of muscles in the upper body that all relate to the spine. So this is what we're doing now. Would you please dip at the hip? Dip at the hips, very important that we don't dip in the spine. And this is now beach ball. So now Madge is dipped at the hip. I hope you're dipped at the hip. And we're just going to bring your arms out to the side, keeping the elbows bent. And they lift up and then they drop down. You're getting different views from Madge. So we're lifting up and dropping down. Now it's probably something you won't feel with 2 or 3 reps, but we just want to go through the actions. We're not going to extreme fatigue today. Okay, Madge? All right. All right, that's beach ball. Now the opposite set of muscles to be worked would be attaching to the spine. We're going to be doing back row. So let's just go into the back row and dipping at the hip again. Dipping at the hip is key. And we're going to come up with the right arm. So Madge is bringing the weight up beyond her body. With this exercise, we do one side at a time. And notice we don't rush with the weights. We do not rush with the weights. If you're rushing with the weights, then I have to say the weight is too light. But this is definitely a good presentation. Madge has got a nice flow here. She's not rushing. I can tell she's breathing properly. She's exhaling when she's bringing her arm up. Would you inhale and stand up, please, Madge? I'm going to have to stop Madge. She seems to enjoy this too much. How about the other side, Madge? Just to show the girls that we do need to do one side at a time for these terrific muscles that run along our vertebra in the back. And now she's dipping at the hip, and we'll just do a few where she's showing you how each side is performed separately. That's very nice, Madge. All right, come on up, please. Now, laundry. This is a laundry exercise. And you have to remember, I don't know if you do remember, Clarissa, but laundry often was done on a scrub board. So this would be Madge. Well, maybe she remembers her grandmother. I don't know. But it's imitating the use of your arms when you're pulling up a bedspread on a scrub board, trying to scrub out a spot. So do you see how we are standing with our knees relaxed and the arms come up, the sternum? And what I'd like to do now, Madge, is add the little click back. Bring your arms up and then shoulder blades together and then drop down. There you go. This is the laundry. Then the shoulder blades come together and back down. That's enough of that, please. Let's do a little sidebar on shoulder blades. They become dislocated when you're leaning forward all the time. And a lean forward can be from your job, from sitting at a table, doing a craft, being a musician, working in a computer or a phone. So pulling the shoulder blades together is a terrific offset to overstretching those muscles between the shoulder blades. And once you start pulling back, and if you left it for a while, then your body would crave pulling those shoulder blades together. So your body gets used to good habits, and then when you stop them, it will give you a message, oh, I have to pull my shoulder blades together. So that was good, Madge. And everybody who comes into my class improves their posture. And when you improve your posture, you're improving the alignment of your skeleton, which means when we strengthen the muscles, all the bones are in the right place. So the force from the muscle through the tendon goes into the bone, bingo, where we want it. So here we are again. Would you like to have some water, Madge? We hydrate during our programs, and I think you'd like to have some water yourself. Okay, so that we've done some upper body. I think what we're going to do now is some lower body. There is a black window on this Madge's screen. Usually, Gabrielle is here taking care of things right beside me, but she had to be out today, so I apologize for the inconvenience. We're fine. So, Madge, you showed us how you warmed up your hips on the inside. Typically, we do much more of a warm up. But what I'd like you to do now is, could you get a 2 pound cuff, a light cuff, and just show us? Now, the cuffs are Velcroed around your ankle, you see? And we start off with no cuffs. If you come to the program or do it on Zoom, the cuffs are left until your third class. There's so much time needed to warm up your hip joints that if you started with the cuff straight away, you could injure yourself, and those injuries take weeks to heal. So Madge wears a cuff every class now, and what I'd like you to do is, I think you showed the class the cuff, right? Yes. All right. So thank you. I think let's show how we do a hamstring curl. And this is where the two knees are together, and you're just going to bring your heel up to your buttock, maybe 5 times. So we're strengthening hamstrings, which are behind your thigh. We do this usually in combination with another exercise. Quite often I'll couple up exercises, but I'm taking them and separating them today just so you'll see. So that's a good hamstring exercise. Now, could you take your leg out to the side, please? Lift it to the side. Now, the important thing here is turning the toe in. The angle of the foot and the ankle determines the angle of the hip joint. So I talk a lot about feet, but I'm really saying if you turn your toes in, that's basically internal rotation of the hip. And this is going to be a better target for a hip that has osteoporosis. That's fine. And we're only going to do one leg today, just so you'll see some of the differences. What I'd like to do next is another exercise that we do on the floor. So could you get a mat, please, Madge? If you cannot get to the floor, or if anybody can't get to the floor, let me know. And during the class, I will offer modifications to doing it on the floor. So that's going to be good, Madge. So I'd like you to just lie down on the mat. This would be you lying on your right side, so the left leg is up with the weight on it. And we quite often put our bodies in the position of a clock. So we'll talk about Madge's head being 12 o'clock if she lies down, and then her feet at 6 o'clock. So both legs are straight. The top leg is the leg that's going to lift, and it's going to strengthen the hip. So just lift it up and down, Madge. Please try to lead with your heel, like turn the toe in towards the floor slightly. You're right on screen. This is good. So that is for total hip. Now, Madge, would you please go into the Christina? This is Christina by Andrew Wyeth. The top leg is back. And if you can take it back further, you can see that her knee is lining up with her hip. That's excellent, Madge. That's an excellent form for starting this Christina lift. Now she'll just lift her leg up as it is. And don't forget, you'll be doing this without cuffs for 3 classes. But we're getting ready to operate the neck of the femur. Now could you just do knee and foot? This is called rotation. The foot goes down and then the knee. The foot and the knee. The foot and the knee. So that's that, Madge. Take a breath, please. So I think that's all that we're going to do right now. We may have some time later on, but I think I'm going to let you rest up and hydrate. And we usually drink water during this class, but some people put electrolytes in their water. Some people infuse their water with lemon, lime, or kiwi, blueberries, cucumber. Not all of the above, but some of them. And it just makes your hydration a little bit easier. So I'm ready to move on to the next slide, please. So it's very important to know that the instructor, like myself, has been educated to learn the sites that fall prey to osteoporosis. Just because the bone scans pick up hip, neck of the femur, total spine, lumbar spine, and wrist doesn't mean that other bones do not have osteoporosis. It's usually a general thing. And what the sites targeted are were the most common occurrences of osteoporosis. And the hip, as I say, neck of the femur, total spine, lumbar spine, and wrist. Wrist is not a common measured site, but if you've had an injury to your hip, it's been plated, or you've been healed by steel, or you have an implant, then they will not scan that hip. Then they'll throw in the wrist. So the X-ray on the left shows you on the looks like elephant ears. That's the hip, and we're looking straight at the lumbar spine. And if you're interested, this lumbar spine gently curves to the left, so that would be called a mild um, lateral deviation. It's not a bona fide scoliosis because it's not 41 degrees from the midline, but it's something that could interfere with building bone in the lumbar spine. So that's in my classes, we spend a lot of time working on the alignment of the spine. And we do a lot with the balls on the walls and balls on the floor. It's a pretty, I don't know if they can see the balls on the wall, but we use every single ball in our classes. And we have a lot of excellent postures and straightening out of spines and reduction of pain in this class. Could you please give me the next slide? As I said before, an exercise program for osteoporosis has to be led by someone who's been educated. So I started off being a certified exercise instructor with the YMCA, and then I went into aerobics and step aerobics and at, gyms, and then I went into the Arthritis Foundation for 5 years. I started to get medically interested because of my nursing background. And then I had to get certified in all kinds of advances in exercise. And I no longer even think that there's an exercise class that could be safe if it wasn't an osteoporosis exercise class. We see a lot of injuries in the business with people doing spinal flexion. So here's an example of a contraindicated exercise. Sit-ups. Well, there's crunches and any kind of twisting of the spine. Next slide, please. This is a very popular way to, fracture your spine. You're putting force on a twist. This is what we don't do. So there's some of the poses: forward bend, shoulder stands. In yoga, deep hip stretches, deep twists. That's a deep twist. And supine twists and the warrior pose. The supine twist is done on your back. Two knees go to one side. It's a lovely, it feels good. But we have to eliminate it for an osteoporotic spine. And I just know that somebody recently decided not to join this class. She thought it was a little expensive. So she went to a gym class and fractured her spine. So she's up for 3 months now, doing nothing. The Pilates is really dangerous, especially when they do the Pilates 100 and a lot of the jackknife positions that Pilates do. You can do some Pilates moves if your spine stays on the floor and you do only the leg part. But some Pilates instructors are educated about osteoporosis, some aren't. So you have to ask. Spinal flexion means bringing your body in, so that I've already shown you the sit-ups and the crunches that we don't do. Next slide, please. This is the most famous exercise. It's it brings in all the awards because it uses every muscle of the body. It's swimming, but it does not build bone. And if you're rotating viciously with the crawl, with the freestyle, and you have osteoporosis, you might want to calm down on that move. As you notice, with the swimming example that Madge gave, she did the breaststroke, but she did not do that violent freestyle. So sometimes we do backstrokes, and that's okay. So now here's another wonderful exercise: walking. Well, walking builds bone. I think the only way you could build bone walking would be to do like 3.5 miles in 20 minutes. I think it's going to be it has to be a very, very brisk walk, and it has to be frequently. It cannot just be on the weekends when it's a nice day. So if you're training with walking, it is not the best bone builder. In my classes, I teach people how to make walking a bone builder, which we call osteogenic. I take a lunge. Would you just show us a lunge, please, Madge? Or are you off screen? Just show us a front lunge, Madge. There you are. So she's put her weight into her left leg. She's putting her weight through her left heel, and she's ahead of her center of gravity. So her body weight is really going into that quad, and it's being transferred to her total hip. Inhale and come up. So that's one of our moves is the lunge. We do front lunges and side lunges. But in class, I teach people to do a walking lunge, where you take the lunge on your walk and maybe do 15 of those while you're walking. So that's how walking can be osteogenic. Next slide, please. Fall prevention. The fastest way to prevent a fracture is prevent a fall. And like I said earlier, the minute you start my class, you're into fall prevention because we do balance exercises every single class. We do balance exercises throughout every single class. We do balance exercises standing, sitting, and on all fours. So there you have it. You can't get away from balance exercises in this class, Madge. You know that. And we deal with the eye, the ear, we deal with muscles and joints and talk about footwear and home safety, dehydration, and we deal with 5 for focus, which I'll explain on an individual basis or in the class. We do balance, agility, and coordination. We do proprioception, which is learning how to handle your body in space without vision. And we do strengthening. All of those things will prevent a fall. We talk about retrieval. If you do lose your footing, that we have a little dance that we teach you so that you can dance your way from falling. And the ear has a lot of function for balance. And I'd just like to mention this because when we move our head, that's helping these balance sensors, but they also need to be cleaned out. So it is important to keep your ears clean. Madge is doing some nice neck work and she's moving your inner ear at the same time. Very nice. Would you please, next slide. The balance and coordination, they seem to frustrate people. And they say, I can't do this. I don't have any balance. That's your starting point. You will build balance. You will build the ability to catch yourself. And in class, we talk about daily balance drills to be done in the kitchen, in the bedroom, what we can do throughout the day, at standing in the supermarket line. We have drills that you can do throughout the day in your community, in your home, at work, and nobody would ever know. And here I've listed some causes of dizziness. If you think it's from blood pressure medication, you would do something about it. Alcohol, narcotics, anxiety. We do a lot of breathing exercises. We do a lot of exercises to control anxiety. and stress. Next slide, please. Okay, so it's time to do another exercise. Ball on the wall, please, Madge. So we do a ball on the wall. Everybody has a wall. You may have to take some artwork off. This is one of the pieces of equipment that we recommend on my website. Thank you. So Madge is going to show how we affect our posture. Would you like to describe what you're doing, Madge?
Put the ball in the small of your back, lean against it, and you can either raise your hands or squat up and down.
Why don't we choose the arm up? Now, the first time you do it, you may be tight, eh? So we do one arm at a time and see how it goes. You don't want to force yourself. If you're not a cherry picker or you're not washing walls or hanging laundry on a clothesline, you might not have these muscles working well if you don't put things in a high shelf. If keeping your arms down below shoulder level is your MO, then you need this exercise, but you don't force it. By doing it maybe 5 or 6 times, you will find that that part of your body loosens up. Oh, so you say something, Madge. We'll take turns.
Yes, the more you do it, the looser you get.
And what feels better?
Feels better.
Being loose or being tight?
Oh, being loose, definitely.
Okay, so there's a good feeling. The other thing about being loose is it prevents injuries. It also means should Madge trip over the chair or something, she's going to be more mobile in retrieving herself if she has looseness in her body. We call it range of motion. We call it, I don't know, what do they call it? There's different words for looseness. Pardon?
Fluidity.
Fluidity. But call it what you like. It's a good feeling and it's necessary to prevent injuries. Thank you, Madge. Okay, next slide, please. I think what I'd like you to demonstrate now, Madge, is well, I guess we've passed it. I'm sorry. You may relax. Let's go into the nutrition for bones. I will mention what the science has given us that beyond a reasonable doubt helps build bone. But please know that every nutrient has at least 10 other applications for goodness in your body. And that's why la variété, the variety of foods is so important to not have the same thing every single day for the rest of your life. Some people do that. Calcium, 1,200 per day. Ta-da! We want 900 from food, please, and only 300 from supplements. Dairy, if you're dairy intolerant, you've got nut milks. You also have salmon, collard greens and beans, nuts, molasses. Watercress has a lot of calcium, and so do prunes. Vitamin D3, 800 to 1,000 international units per day. If you're having egg yolk and some fortified juices and foods with vitamin D3, you are okay. Fatty fishes will give it to you naturally, salmon and mackerel, but it's certainly okay to take a vitamin D3 supplement. We do not take a lot of calcium supplements because above it says 300 milligrams only per day would be safe. We go down to vitamin D3 again, and unfortunately, sunlight in New England is not enough. Next slide, please. Magnesium, 340 per day. Every nutrient, every dietitian, every nutritionist will tell you that your nutrients are best taken from food. Of course, there's magnesium supplements. We love magnesium in my classes. It's easy to get. It really is. There it is, whole greens, leafy greens, nuts and seeds, avocado, spinach, raisins, and tomatoes. The magnesium actually is very good for sore muscles as well. So the supplements are okay for some sore muscles after a workout. And it's also very helpful for muscles to soak in the magnesium sulfate bath called what? What are they called, man? Bath salts, but what kind? Epsom. See, Epsom salt is magnesium. So they also have Epsom salts cream now so that you can rub sore, tired muscles and the magnesium goes through your skin and relaxes the muscle. So we try to work with those elements rather than painkillers right away. K. There's K1 and K2. Thing 1 and Thing 2. Who wrote that book? Madge. Dr. Seuss. It's Dr. Thing 1 and Thing 2. We'll have to get that out. It's a very easy K to get. K1 is uh, from food, of course, and K2 is also from food, but K1 would be from the greens, avocado, and K2 is from animal protein and fermented foods. K2 has been proven lately to be the better of the Ks, and if you are vegetarian, then you certainly could go to fermented foods. Nappe, you can have fermented cheeses. You can have pickles, pickle juice. All right. Next slide, please. Vitamin C. So far we got calcium, magnesium, K, then we have vitamin C and potassium. So the vitamin C is pretty well known. Red and green peppers, cabbage, citrus fruits, broccoli, strawberries, and Brussels sprouts. Madge, could you please just tell us what you do with Brussels sprouts that's so popular?
Make a kale Brussels sprout salad, which sounds awful, but it's really good. With a mustard garlic dressing.
How many times have you made it for our calcium cafes? At least 5 or 6 times, and she brings it in a big pail because people love it. And we have it printed. Gabrielle can get it for you. But it's a very healthy and it's delicious and it lasts. It has a good life, right? So thank you, Madge. We love that one. We have potassium. We have various things that come up in the literature for bone health. Carry on, with, please. More. New slide. Some of these things are popular in Europe. Doesn't mean they're not effective because they haven't been accepted over here. But I know that Europe is looking at nutrition as strongly as we are, if not more so. And boron is one of them. But this country isn't really so accepting of boron. But I keep track of what's going on in other countries too. Please, next slide. I guess the important thing is what to avoid. Salt. Too much salt can make it very hard for bones to build. Too much caffeine. Too much soda. Too much alcohol. Too much red meat. Processed foods and sugar. So when we look at that list, when it comes to salt, I try to bring out every once in a while what the condiments are that are good for building bones so that you don't need the salt. What herbs, what spices will help you. For instance, cinnamon has calcium. For instance, majoram will help build bone. So if you want to take salt out of your diet or reduce it drastically, we will provide you with a list of herbs and spices that will make it very, very delicious. Next slide, please. Stress. Let's go back to Dr. LaBeouf. She told me in an email, Beverly, tell that chronic stress will inhibit bone growth. And the way it works is there's a leakage of cortisol that's constant. A great stress is like jumping up and down because you won something or you found something. Positive stress is a go-getter. Positive stress will get you out of the way of a truck if you're in the middle of the road that's aiming for you. Positive stress will get your arms up in the air and jumping if your team wins. And positive stress was always the terminology when they started researching it in the 60s at the University of Montreal. And Dr. Hans Selye became the world expert on stress, and he wrote it as a good thing. He called it stress is the spice of life. And then when things were not good, it was eustress or distress. And somehow stress has become the negative. So I just want you to know that, what gets you up and out of the house in the morning to be somewhere on time, your body is stressed, but it's not a bad thing. We're talking about chronic worrying. We're talking about chronic sleep deprivation. We're talking about chronic indigestion that puts a stress on the body, but it's not overwhelming so that you can't walk. It's just there. You still do your life, but the chronic stress is at the low level of cortisol that's constantly being excreted. And that's what Merle LaBeouf talks about. So that's why we have a lot of information on stress reduction. Next slide, please. Exercise. That can be walking, that can be swimming, that can be doing our class. Sometimes people just feel so much better after they've done the class. Some people walk out saying, I feel terrific. I didn't think I could even do the class. I came in, I felt so crummy. And now I feel great. I'm ready to go out and do something. Some people feel, oh, I didn't think I had any energy, but boy, I sure do now. So exercise can reduce the stress because we talk so much in class about your form and what you should be doing and how you should stand, how you should breathe, how you should eat, how you should sleep. Nobody has a chance to worry, right, during class match?
No.
So you leave all of your worries at the door when you come into our class. We do meditation. Um, Yoga, you have to watch out for some yoga poses. I mentioned those in the contraindicated exercises. I teach the Benson breath. I teach head tapping. I teach contract and relax every muscle in your body so that you can reduce your stress. Just going out into nature, herbal teas, finding your circadian rhythm. We talk about that in a special class I did on sleep. And listening to your favorite music will reduce your stress. Laughing is very important. And socializing is good for your health. So find excuses to be with positive people. And I did a workshop on it. It's called The Anatomy of Stress. You can reach Gabrielle if you wanted a copy of that. Would you please switch slides, please? So we're going to skip over this. We're not doing any more exercise because I don't want to keep you over time. Next slide, please. Oh, we have a skeleton in our closet here. No, in our birth. His name is Bon Jovi. And we have his vertebra visible. We have his discs, his total hip, his neck of the femur, his wrists, the spine, the neck. We have all of that on display with charts. There's a lot of medical charts in my work studio here. So when you come to visit me, you certainly can come in and say hello to Bon Jovi. But here's a quick overview of my class. I'm going to let you read it. Okay, I'm going to intervene here. Where number 6, where it says online coaching. If you're on a Zoom class, I have you on my screen. A model will be working the whole class like Madge did today, and I'll be coaching the model. And then I look at the screen and I work with each one of you individually, and I will coach you through the Zoom. The floating videos with my class, you will get 2 classes per week, but also 2 videos that you can use on your own time. If you miss the Zoom or if you wanted to do a third one on the weekend, you could use one of the floating videos. And we also have one video called Self-Care, which is on the soft side of exercise, very soft, gentle movements to help you relax and maybe get rid of some pain. So that comes with a subscription. And the monthly newsletter is exactly what it says. News comes out, and you will have, quite often, we feature a member who's done something amazing. We have recipes. We have any new science that's come out with osteoporosis, and they're generally monthly. There's the 20-minute consultation. Calcium Cafe, I've mentioned. You'll get the recipes every time we have one, but you get regular recipes anyways. So we keep the recipes coming. Next slide, please. Here's a graph to the right. Everything's going up. These are 3 areas that were studied, and the elevation of each line in the gray box indicates the person entered my class at that time. But you can see that different sites respond differently to an osteoporosis program. Some people barely stayed level, elevated slightly, and some people shot right up. I mean, some people just have a different response to the class. And so what I really try to do is go over your own T-scores with you. And we look at some of your medical history and your exercise history when we start to look at how your bones may strengthen. When we talk about nutrition, but every time you sign up for a 2-month course, you're entitled to another 20-minute consultation. So please, next slide. These are more very positive graphs. Next slide. Walking is not enough. I think I've said this before. I like to repeat myself in this class because people don't remember everything the first time. But when it says you need strengthening and flexibility, that's for healthy aging. So what I do when it says walking is not enough, we do the strengthening here. We add flexibility. Madge was talking about it when she was on the ball and how loose she got. But when we do the walking lunge, that makes the walking an osteogenic exercise. So if you'd like to register, you would email Gabrielle Plaint, gplaint@osteofitness.com. It's right there on your screen. Now we have a few minutes. I know we've gone over time, but I wanted to give you back the time for the electronic laws. Would anybody have a question right now? Oh, and a special thanks to our model, Madge Wade. Thank you, Madge.
You're very welcome. Sign up, you'll enjoy it.
Thank you. That was sweet. All right.
I'm trying to get the view. This is Norma. I had a question.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I am not good at exercise. I mean, I've never succeeded with, because I never know if I'm doing it right. So do you have an in-person class or is it all on Zoom?
Oh, listen, Norma, we have an in-person class. Sign up right away. It's first come, first served.
But on the Zoom class, she's watching you, so, and you're watching the model, so it's a good interaction, because I wasn't apt to do it either, but being able to work with Beverly, and she tells you if you're doing it right, and everybody participates.
The other thing, Norma, is in my room when I'm doing a Zoom class, you might like this. When I'm in this room with Bon Jovi and the model, there's enough room in this place for you to come and exercise right beside me. And then I'll keep an eye on you, but you won't be on the screen. The only person on the screen would be the model. Are you with me, Norma?
Yeah, well, do you think I guess I'm a little, I mean, is it better than with the Zoom? It's always good to look at somebody and do it like they're doing it, but is
All
that
right.
better than the Zoom or?
No, I would like to work with you as a silent partner. Just come in
Yeah, okay,
when
so
we
I could
start.
come in and then you could correct me if I'm doing it wrong.
You bet I will.
And also the fatigue thing, I'm not familiar with like sometimes I've done some weights and I never know, like it'll start to feel like, oh yeah, but then, I just have not succeeded with it, but I know that I should do more than walk. I walk a lot. So I'm also interested in learning about the lunge, how you can walk and lunge, you know, together. Okay.
I want you to show up, all right?
Yeah, okay.
But don't forget, Norma, I have been teaching exercise to people for 30 years. And the first people who were my osteoporosis clients were wearing wool skirts with zippers, stockings, and heels, and they carried the purse over their arm. That's how long ago. And
Yeah,
they did exercise. I said, you can't exercise in your heels and your skirts. So I think you're going to be like a piece of cake, Norma. How's that?
yeah, because I have bad osteoporosis. I mean, it's improving with the medicine, but I really want to do more. I want to see if I can strengthen because I finally had to go to the medicine, because I had 2 fractures.
So we're going to keep you from falling, okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So do you know how to show up or where we are? Speak with Gabrielle.
Yeah, I'll speak with Gabrielle and find out. Yeah. Yeah.
Clarissa,
About
hi.
what it is. Yeah.
Thank you, Norma. Thank you for your patience. I hate saying that phrase, but I really, Gabrielle usually runs these things. So do you have a question, Clarissa?
Well, I'm looking forward to the class. So that's great. I was recently diagnosed with osteopenia. I'm curious about what happens with the neck exercises because apparently my neck area is where I have the highest negative score.
Madge, it's not your neck, it's the neck of the femur.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
what that
exactly.
means. Answered my first question.
Yeah.
We'll straighten everything out. You're going to have a little visit with Bon Jovi, all right?
Yeah.
Or skeleton, and we'll show you the neck of the femur.
Okay,
But we
that's good.
also
And
do,
also some of your supplement amounts are a little bit different than what my doctor has suggested, but she's not an expert in this. She's just a, internist, although an expert on older adults.
so what, give me one for an example.
So one example is um, although 1,200 milligrams a day of calcium, that's the same. She's saying I can get up to 600 from food. I'm not sure quite how to get 900 milligrams from food. I've been already counting and it's quite a lot.
You're going to learn it. You're going to learn the tricks that people use.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
And she does like it that I'm taking a multivitamin every day, although that multivitamin doesn't have enough vitamin D or calcium, so that's what I'm supplementing with.
It shouldn't
So,
have calcium in it.
what?
Usually there's calcium in the vitamin.
Well, it
generally.
depends on the type of vitamin. It's a, anyways, we can talk about that when I have a consult with you. Yeah, and the vitamin K1 and 2, I'm glad you talked about that because I was reading, I'm scientific enough that I do read the literature and recent information about the K2 versus K1. And so, yeah, I'll want to talk more with you about how to do that, how to balance that. I did know about the prunes already, so I'm already eating those.
Well, that's wonderful. You know what we do? People bring prune compotes to our calcium cafe where they stew prunes with, I don't know, dried apricots and dried blueberries. They'll take 3 dried fruits and simmer them in water with a little cinnamon. And we have a lady who decided to put them in a jar in cold water in the fridge, and they stewed overnight in cold water, which means they get soft. And then you put something like nutmeg or cinnamon in with it, and it's a lovely, lovely dessert. Some people have been serving it with ricotta cheese on top. Some people have it for
Nice.
breakfast. But the idea is for getting your calcium. That's the burden. It's a burden. And that's why I take it on. And you're going to get overloaded with recipes. How's that?
Yeah. But it's
Good.
okay. It's okay if calcium is in like different foods, right? You just read the label and you'll
Right.
find that calcium is in a number of foods.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
Yes.
you have sardines and salmon and and I love yogurt and cheese, so that's not a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're very fortunate if you can eat dairy.
Yes. It's that Nordic
Well,
heritage, I guess.
yes, well, I look forward to meeting both of you. Are you signing up?
Yeah, I've already signed up and sent in my paid for the class, so I'm looking
Okay.
forward. I was planning on doing the Zoom class at 4, and when do I arrange the consultation with you? That's the question I had, is how to schedule that.
It would
I mean, I
be
live
through
in Littleton, so I can drive into Concord anytime.
it would be through email, Clarissa.
Gotcha. All right. So
And
I
it's
can email you with my DEXA scores attached and
yes,
what my
please.
doctor suggested, and then you can respond.
Just send me a package of everything.
Gotcha. All
But
right. Thank you.
I need to keep something on file here, like your T scores, okay?
Will do. All
And
right. Thank
Norma,
you so much.
my pleasure. I can't wait to meet you. Norma?
Well, I haven't looked yet at the classes when they start and what, so I have to find out, I guess, from Gabrielle. I don't know when it starts
They're
or,
starting soon.
so is that on the website or I just call Gabrielle or email her?
Are you listening, Gabrielle?
Yeah, I'm right here. The class starts this coming Tuesday on March 12th is the next class, and I
Okay.
will be sending out an email to everyone who attended with a link to our website on how to register and my email, so you can also go through me if you don't want to use our online portal.
Uh-huh.
And on the website there'll be class information, a little bit more details about the perks, that kind of thing that you can look at.
Okay. And it's a 2 month, it's how long? It's 2 months and then it starts again or?
So
That's
it's a
right.
total of 16 classes. So that is about 8 weeks.
Oh, okay.
So
Mhm.
then
Okay.
each session is 8 weeks long.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And we have over 70 people doing it. And they've been in it for years because they're aging so safely and so well. I just want you to know it's got a long history, this class.
Oh,
So,
yeah. Yeah.
And
um,
also, if you guys want
Yeah.
any backdated newsletters, shoot me an email and let me know, and I can send you that newsletter because we
no,
have
I would,
some.
you know what? Let them just try one to see what you think of it. Our last one, just send them the most recent one.
I'll also send out our last newsletter to
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
both of you guys.
right.
Yeah, the last newsletter will give you an example of what the newsletters are, and it's included in your registration. Meanwhile, I'm going to go to computer school, Gabrielle.
Oh, that wasn't you. The iPad, I don't know if anyone has an iPhone, but has ever tried to unlock it, and sometimes it doesn't recognize the face and freezes and doesn't unlock. That's what was happening today.
Thank
It
you.
was a software glitch.
Okay, thank you, Gabrielle, and thank you for joining us. I think
Thank
Maria's
you.
on. It was
Yeah,
a
thank
pleasure
you.
meeting you, and I hope to see you soon.
Yeah,
Okay?
Thank
bye.
you
Right.
guys, and I'll
Thank
send
you.
out the recording later if you want to view
Okay.
it again without any technical difficulties. So
All
you
right.
guys will also get the recording, and that'll be probably in a few hours because I have to edit it
Oh,
and
yeah.
stuff.
Well, thank
Okay, goodbye, everybody. We're
Bye.
signing off.
Bye.